Thanks, Kate. And, so it's my job to talk today about how PDUFA can drive innovation, one of the most overused words in Washington, D.C., right? But so Genentech is a very innovative company. Our business is scientific exploration and development of unknowns, right, to treat serious medical conditions. And whenever a company is involved in the scientific enterprise, it's an inherently risky endeavor, right? And so companies are always looking for certainty. They're looking for ways to de-risk their exploration. The way that we learn from regulators, there's really two ways we can learn from regulators. Number one is through precedent, right? So previous regulatory decisions. We learn from those. We can understand what the bar is, what the evidentiary standards are to get over a certain hurdle. The other way is through regulatory guidance. And this is incredibly important when we're talking about truly novel pathways, truly novel tools. Through the first 5 iterations of PDUFA, what you've seen has been a focus on really the nuts and bolts of regulatory. It's a fee-for-service program. It's about in exchange for a particular service, you pay a fee and you receive that service. Those fees augment the resources that are needed from the agency to conduct that service. And what we've seen now is the growth of that program. It funds about 60% of the Human Drug Review program at FDA is funded by PDUFA fees. And really in all measures, it's been an incredibly successful program. If you look at FDA's performance, the way that they hit their goals for timelines of review, first cycle approvals, et cetera, they've been incredibly successful. Now, as Kate, I think, did a great job of very succinctly explaining, what we've begun to look at in PDUFA is beyond just that review, just the nuts and bolts of review, and how do we provide companies certainty that they can utilize the novel tools that are in development now to shorten the development time frame for drugs. And more importantly than that, not just to shorten the time, but to be measuring impacts that matter most to the folks who will be using the drugs and therapies that are coming to market. So, Eric did a great job going over, I think, what we view are the key pieces of the agreement, right? So that's the development of tools like biomarkers and surrogate endpoints, patient-focused drug developments, and tools to measure the patient experience and the experience of caregivers throughout the therapy process. What I can tell you now is the impact that'll have on our company. So, obviously, like all companies, we make investments based on the likelihood of a return and the likelihood that we can advance a project through to the goal line. And now, what we have confidence in our ability to do is to put money in our biometrics programs where we can develop those types of patient-focused outcome tools so that we can put in the label of our products exactly what the patient experience is going to be based on our clinical trials, based on real-world evidence, et cetera. So it gives us, it frees us to innovate in those open spaces with the certainty that we'll be able to work with regulators, with the broader patient community, et cetera, to really develop these tools, to take them over the finish line, and to have a finite finish point where we can get these to patients and the information can help medical decisions be made in the most informed way possible. So I'm trying to think of how else I want to describe this, and there's so many parts about the PDUFA agreement that get me pretty excited. So I'm relatively new to the congressional side of our business. I actually worked with Kate pretty closely when we were negotiating this agreement from the policy side. I think some of the most exciting pieces of this agreement are in single lines, where the FDA is doing different things that they've never done before. In the biomarker space, we know that it's incredibly difficult to hire, especially statistical talent. We know that that's at a premium. I think 150 statistics PhDs are issued a year, Kay, I think that's what we learned. And how can the FDA compete with companies across the spectrum, with enterprises across the globe to hire them? What they're actually looking to do is to pilot mechanisms to augment the internal talent that they have so they can work with the external scientific community, funded by taxpayers, funded by companies, also funded by patient groups, frankly, who are putting out RFPs for research in areas that are meaningful to their patient base. So that type of a sea change, right, and the FDA opening up to new ideas like that is really exciting. Another thing, I mentioned before, the two ways that we get experience or that we learn and get certainty is through guidance, which we heard a little bit about from Eric, that some of the significant guidance that will be written as part of PDUFA 6. We also have a number of pilot programs, and that entices companies to come and actually participate in what would typically be a more risky endeavor, with the reward being we'll get a lot more participation from senior leadership at FDA, and what they get is they can use that experience, generalize it, and write additional guidance for that, right? So it really, I could talk all day, I think, about some of the provisions, but those are what we're the most excited about. Don't talk all day? Okay, I'll wrap up.